All right, so I just watched one of the most incredible series I have ever seen, and it made me want to come out here and just do a video review on it. It was that good. So this is not a paid promotion. This is just me fanboying over a show that I watched on TV and wanting to do an honest review about it. So the show I'm talking about is on Peacock. So of course you have to have a Peacock subscription to even see it. But it's called Twisted Metal. So let me just start by saying I'm a vicious admirer of the Twisted Metal franchise. Now, I'm a gamer at heart, obviously. So when Twisted Metal first came out, way back in 1995, it was one of the games that I owned on the PlayStation. And let me tell you, me and my brothers played this endlessly. It was such a riveting game back in the day. It was a racing game which everyone could appeal to. The characters were phenomenal. They all had backstories. It was amazing. Not to mention you got to blow up cars and do cool things with special abilities and things like that. So I think, personally, I bought every single Twisted Metal game up until 2001, which was Twisted Metal Black. That was the last one I bought. So I haven't played any games after Twisted Metal Black, and I think they actually remade it in 2012, and I heard that one was really good. So I gotta check that one out. But let's just say you've never heard of Twisted Metal or you've never played any of the games. That's fine. You don't have to enjoy this show. Now, if you have played those games, will you get some extra benefit out of watching this show? Absolutely. There are so many Easter eggs. And remember, I'm a huge fan and I didn't even catch them all. There's that many. So let me just read you what the description on Peacock says first. It's time to put your pedal to metal. From the twisted minds behind Deadpool and Zombieland and executive producers Will Arnett and Anthony Mackie comes the new Peacock original series Twisted Metal, a high-octane action comedy based on the classic video game series. Anthony Mackie stars as John Doe, a motor-mouthed outsider who must deliver a mysterious package across a post-apocalyptic wasteland, if he can survive the drive. With the help of an axe-wielding car thief played by Stephanie Beatrice, he'll face savage marauders and other dangers on the open road. Those dangers just so happen to include Sweet Tooth, a deranged murder clown played by Samoa Joe and Will Arnett, and Agent Stone, a vicious highway patrolman played by Thomas Hayden Church. Buckle up, people. This one's gonna be a wild ride. So there's a few things in that description that should sell you right away. Number one, it's based on the video game, as I mentioned. Number two, it references two amazing other movies, Deadpool and Zombieland. You'll be hard-pressed to find someone that doesn't enjoy at least one of those two movies. And number three, the all-star cast. I cannot believe how many incredible actors are in this series. So I'll be 100% honest, when I first heard about this, I was hyped beyond belief. But then I thought, well, how are they gonna do this? How are they gonna turn this video game franchise into a TV series? I just couldn't foresee them having a successful run at this. But I can assure you, after watching all of season 1, they did just that, and it's 10 out of 10 material. So like I said, the video game itself, Twisted Metal, was a lot of destruction. You hopped into a car. Each car had a specific driver with a backstory and a special ability. You could also pick up rockets, you had machine guns, and it was basically Demolition Derby with the goal of destroying every other racer on the map. Now occasionally you would encounter a boss, and then you'd have an epic showdown, you'd beat them, and finally you'd make it to the very, very end, and it turns out the whole tournament was hosted by someone named Calypso, and Calypso would grant you your wish. Now unfortunately for those that won, he often gave wishes that were quite literal. For example, in Twisted Metal 2, let me just give you a little bit of a spoiler here. One of the cars' names was Hammerhead. And the two that drove that, when they won the tournament and got their wish granted by Calypso, they wanted the ability to fly. That's what they wished for. So Calypso granted their wish, and they drove to the top of a skyscraper and drove off, thinking they would fly. And of course, they plummeted to their deaths. So after they died, Calypso reveals that he bought them first-class airline tickets. They wanted to fly, he bought them tickets, but they thought they would get the actual ability to fly, and they died as a result of it. So that's the kind of craziness that Twisted Metal has to offer. And they brought all of that to the table with this TV series. So I didn't watch any trailers, I didn't read any reviews, I just went into it cold turkey, and I was blown away. Now I will admit, probably the first 5 minutes, I was a little skeptical. I saw this and I was like, wow, this is not gonna be good. It's probably not worth my time to watch. So once you get past the initiation of the show, you're gonna love it. The dialogue is amazing. Like I said, the actors are amazing. But what blew me away the most was the comedy in this. I was laughing so hard at some of the lines delivered, some of the character dialogue. It was just beyond belief. And I always came back wanting more. Now, one drawback to this is that each episode is only 30 minutes. That's it. I was anticipating an hour long. So it's kind of short in terms of duration, and you're always left wanting more. Now, in season 1, there's 10 episodes, and you can watch all 10 in a row. And I was quick to fire up the next episode right away. I didn't want to be left in suspense, and sometimes at the end of an episode, it's a cliffhanger. I never wanted to be left in suspense. I always wanted to jump right into the next episode. Right away, though, you could tell that the creative minds behind Deadpool and Zombieland were on full display. Like I said, the character dialogue is just captivating. It pulls you in. And the actors are phenomenal, like I said. So the main character is played by Anthony Mackie, and he's obviously been in some insane Marvel movies, Captain America, The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, things like that. A brilliant actor. And it's on full display as John Doe here in Twisted Metal. So his description is a milkman who talks as fast as he drives. With no memory of his past, John gets a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to make his wish of finding community come true, but only if he can survive an onslaught of savage vehicular combat. So we'll talk more about him in just a minute. The second main character is named Quiet, and she's played by Stephanie Beatrice. Now, when I first saw her on the show, and she doesn't talk very much at the start, hence the name Quiet, I was just blown away. I didn't know who this was, and because she didn't really talk at all, I couldn't get a feel for how she was going to be as a character. But what drew me in was her facial expression. Her acting without talking was just mind-boggling. I was so captivated by this character, I had to see who she was. And after a while, she does eventually talk, and that's when things clicked. Once I heard her voice, it all dawned on me. Stephanie Beatrice is the amazing actress from Encanto. She plays Mirabel in Encanto. I love that. I love her voice, I love her singing capabilities, and I had no idea that she was an amazing actress as well. So her character is a ferocious car thief who acts purely on instinct. When she's consumed by her thirst for revenge, Quiet forms an unlikely bond with John Doe. So those are the two main characters, Quiet and John Doe. And then you've got two, quote, bad guys. First up is Sweet Tooth. He's played physically by Samoa Joe, but he's voiced by Will Arnett. And his description says, this majestic, rage-filled killer dons a clown mask and uses, quote, Las Vegas as his headquarters while driving his infamous Doomsday ice cream truck. Now, any Twisted Metal fan will know Sweet Tooth is an iconic, playable character. One of the best. And then they also added another, quote, villain named Agent Stone, and this guy is played by Thomas Hayden Church. So in the video games, he wasn't exactly a bad guy. My brother always played as his character. His name was Outlaw. And sometimes it would be a girl driving the cop car, sometimes Agent Stone. But for whatever reason, they made him a bad guy in this TV series, and it says, a cold and unyielding post-apocalyptic highway patrolman who rules the roads with a twisted iron fist, killing anyone in his path who defies his power. So those are the four main characters. Obviously, there's also an array of amazing supplemental cast. They're all incredible. I didn't find one person that I disliked. The acting is just off the charts in this show. Now, obviously, I need to mention Twisted Metal is obviously rated mature. There's a lot of destruction, there's a lot of gore, there's a lot of profanity. So I definitely wouldn't let your kids watch this without you being there as well. So why did I love Twisted Metal so much? I think it's a combination of a few things. Number one, like I said, the actresses and actors are just phenomenal. Number two, again, the dialogue, the script, the screenplay, it's all flawless. Amazingly put together, amazingly orchestrated. Number three, the character development. So throughout the series, you'll see flashbacks into certain characters, kind of like Lost, if you remember that show. It may even begin an episode where you're in the past, a flashback, for one of the characters. So you can dive more into their character development, which really helps move the series along. And the fourth major thing that I really loved about Twisted Metal, you can tell that it draws inspiration from other movies and directors and producers and things like that. As I mentioned multiple times already, some of the writers and producers and showrunners and things like that are from Deadpool and Zombieland. Every once in a while you get hints of Deadpool, every once in a while hints of Zombieland, and one thing I didn't see anyone mention, this entire series reminds me of Quentin Tarantino. From some of the outlandish gore that just comes out of nowhere, to the screenplay, some of the writing totally reminds me of Quentin Tarantino. And I have never seen a bad movie or anything produced by him. So to draw all those inspirations from all those classics, and then put them into this TV series, it's amazing. Pretty much, if you're a fan of Deadpool, Zombieland, or Quentin Tarantino, you're gonna love this. Now, how well did they adapt from the video game series? I'd say pretty well. Given the content of the actual video game, they really brought it to life. I didn't think they'd be able to pull it off, but they absolutely did. So you'll notice some characters from the video games are the main characters in the show. And then you'll notice some other main characters of the video games are just side characters on the show. So obviously they couldn't highlight everyone, but there's enough Easter eggs and cameos from actual Twisted Metal characters from the game in the show. Now, like I said, it centers around John Doe, who's actually in some of the Twisted Metal games. And they have him portrayed as pretty much a delivery driver. They call him a milkman. And that's another great aspect of the show. It kind of reminds me of a zombie apocalypse, if you will, almost like The Walking Dead. So the major cities in the Twisted Metal universe are safe. And they put these big walls up, and they kicked all the criminals and all the bad people outside. So if you're within a big city, you're safe. It's amazing. If you're outside in the apocalyptic part of the world, then you're not. And that's where John Doe comes in. He's a delivery man, so he goes from one big city to the next. And when he traverses between the two, he's got to fight off what they call vultures and other marauders, aka all the bad people. So it's just a really, really good concept, and I love how they brought it to life. Now, of course, there's so many cars from the video game in the show, and there's so many car cameos. It's just amazing. I don't want to spoil anything, but they really bring out the video game aspect, including the weapons that they use, the cars on display, the special abilities even for some of the cars. Just like in the video game, they have them in the show. It's just really cool. Now, lastly, one other thing I wanted to talk about is the music. So the show takes place around the early 2000s, so there's a lot of musical references to then, and it's just amazing. That's basically when I grew up. So all the songs they play, it just strikes a chord with me because I know all those songs. Now, most people probably won't get all the references to the early 2000s, but that's okay. All the action scenes are beautifully orchestrated. There's so many great songs playing during pivotal moments, and in fact, I will be the first to admit, and again, I don't want to put any spoilers in here, but there's this one part that literally made me tear up over a car. I teared up over a car, and it was because of the beautiful orchestrated song in the background. You watch the entire series, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about when you see it, but I was blown away. Now, in terms of visual effects, some of the car scenes, I don't know, it's just a bit iffy, but it wasn't often. Most of the time, it looked incredible, almost like a movie. I just remember one or two car scenes, I was like, okay, well, that kind of looked a little fake, but just a few times, nothing outrageous. I don't even remember seeing any CGI, and there had to be some in some places, so that's how well they disguised it. But there's definitely some stunning visual effects and tons of action scenes all over the place, and like I said, sometimes it can get a little gory, which I personally like. So there you go, I tried not to give anything away, but after watching all 10 episodes of Season 1, I was just in disbelief at how much I enjoyed it. Again, I went into there thinking it wouldn't really be that good, and I came out of there thinking this is one of the best shows I've ever seen on TV. So why am I making this review? Number one, to praise everyone who had a part in it because it was that good. Number two, to get everyone to watch this so we get a Season 2. I haven't heard anything about it being canceled or renewed yet, but as you'll see at the end of Season 1, Season 2 needs to happen. We need to find out what happens next. So there you go. Let me know in the comments, have you seen Twisted Metal yet? One of the best TV shows I've ever seen, and probably the best thing on Peacock right now. If nothing else, it's worth a free trial if they offer that is, to watch all 10 of the episodes on Peacock. It's that good. So there you go. Again, let me know if you've seen Twisted Metal and what you thought of it as well, because I'm curious. Maybe I'm overhyping this, but I loved it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and a like is always appreciated.